Hey, all you rad dads out there.
All right. Well, it's Brett and Kristian welcoming you to another episode of the Rad Dad Show, the parenting podcast where we ask inspiring dads the question, what does it mean to be a rad dad? So, Kristian, you had a chance on this episode to sit down with some people who are really important in your life. Who are they?
Well, sorry, I was laughing at that. I don't know if they would feel the same way, but definitely I have the Belke brothers, Mark and Brent Belke of SNFU, one of my all-time favorite bands, and so pleasure to be here in the intro. I think I haven't done an intro in probably 4 years since you've taken over, so.
Yeah, it's nice to do it together. It felt like you needed to be here because this is kind of your episode, right? Like, and you like saying that SNFU is one of your favorite bands. Like, I think it's putting it mildly because you're like the world's biggest SNFU fan. You have
The,
like, yeah,
there's a few of us, yeah, the gaggle of friends. There's a small network or big, I don't know how you define that, but there's a few of us that are, some would say, fanatics of this band when it comes to lots of different things, mainly kind of collecting records and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely, it's a pleasure to have been able to interview Mark and Brent together. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and the timing of this is really interesting for a couple reasons. Like one being that it's the 40th anniversary of their debut record and no one else wanted to play. And so like you'll talk about that in the interview, people get to hear about that, but about what it means to those guys to be at 40 years with that record. But what does it mean to you? Like that record must be hugely important to you.
Yeah, it's I guess I'll just kind of go right into it. Obviously, one of the reasons that I interviewed him is we have a comic book inspired by the album coming out um well, at the end of the month or in a few weeks, I guess. Um and it pays tribute to that, like a homage to that album. It's 40 years since that album and no one else wanted to play was released. And I guess if I to summarize why it's so important is just the band is important to me in the sense that they were just a local band and they have this global reach. And so to me, a band from Edmonton that has this global reach and how much influence that they've had kind of throughout the punk realm is super cool to me. The fact that they're hometown heroes in a sense.
Well, that's something I've always liked about hanging out with you is you have all this knowledge about not just SNFU, but like the Edmonton punk scene and sort of, where Edmonton stood on the stage of punk rock. And you guys kind of talk about that in this interview, which is pretty cool to kind of talk about some old bands and some old friends and stuff that have, made their way into your life. One of them being Paul, who plays in Dad Religion. So to bring it back a little bit to the comic book, you have the comic book coming out. It's called Come With Me, I'm on My Way, and it's on Kickstarter. There's when this comes out, which is tomorrow, there's going to be 2 days left to get in on it. So what can people, if people haven't checked out the comic book yet, like how do they find it? What is it all about?
Yeah, so me and a creative team, Adrian Cleric and Dylan Corbisser, have created a comic. Dylan did all the work. Adrian and I and Dylan each wrote a story. Adrian actually did two, so we took four stories from that album, or four songs, I should say, from that album, and crafted stories around it. So it's a horror theme, inspired by kind of Tales from the Crypt, that old comic book, and various horror kind of pieces and genres. And yeah, what can I say? It's four stories, 7 pages per story. We have a Kickstarter going. We've surpassed our goal, twice over, and looking forward to getting it out to the printers. Um, the songs that we chose were The Gravedigger, Cannibal Cafe, Bodies in the Wall and Loser at Life, Loser at Death. And so those are the songs. And, to accompany that, my band Dad Religion, recorded those songs as well. And so we've released a 7 inch, and one of the highlights, definitely. And the reason for kind of the interview with the Belkes is the fact that the Belke brothers both actually played on a song from this album. And Jimmy Schmitz, who's the original bass player that played on the album as well, and no one else wanted to play, he also played on the album as well. So he played on all 4 songs. So the highlight, I guess, is I managed to bring together all the remaining surviving members of SNFU that played on that original album. Obviously, Mr. Chai Pig Ken passed away about 5 years ago, and Evan Tadpole Jones, the drummer, passed away a number of years ago as well. So, yeah, definitely something that's super cool as a fan.
So people who get the comic book can also get the 7 inch with it. There's some t-shirts and stuff. There's some other add-ons. What else is available?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We had a few t-shirts, one being a homage to an old SNFU t-shirt design. There's that. We have, I think, a sweater that we released as well. But yeah, it's basically the comic, the 7 inch, and a couple shirts.
Awesome. Well, the 7 inches, I have it right here. I don't know if people can see that. It's like blurry, but anyway, it's here. It's real. They're made. So get your hands on one. Okay. And then you guys have a release show coming up for the comic book as well, right?
Yeah, so we August 23rd at the Temple, Starlight Room slash Temple. We are going, Dad Religion is going to do a release show. So it's kind of like combining with the comic guys. So Adrian and I and Dylan wanted to have some sort of release. Instead of a comic shop, I suggested, why doesn't my band play all these songs from, and no one else wanted to play. So we're going to play that album in its entirety, have Jimmy on bass, and we have a few extra surprises too in terms of songs and people joining us on stage. So I'll leave that as a surprise, and I won't reveal it here.
Okay. Well, killer.
Um,
We'll
yeah, and then just a bunch of friends, bands coming to play. It's just meant to be a celebration of SNFU and 40 years of this album.
we'll put up links to all of that once tickets are available and stuff like that. People will be able to find out about that from us. Should we get into the interview? Kristian, is there anything I forgot?
No, I think that's it. Give us a follow on Instagram at snfu.tales. That's where you can kind of find information about the book. If you happen to miss the Kickstarter, we're going to have, books and vinyl at the show. But also, if you can message us through Instagram, we're going to have a few kind of extras on hand just for people. And we don't have a website, but message us and we'll get it to you. So we're going to have a limited release, but I'm sure there's a few stragglers that we can satisfy.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, you guys talk about all that during the interview. You talk about, Edmonton punk rock history, and then of course all the dad stuff. So let's get into it. Brent and Marc Belke of the mighty SNFU on the Rad Dad Show.
All right. Okay. Who do we have here? Marc Belke and Brent Belke of SNFU. Welcome to the Rad Dad Show. Gentlemen, we're going to start the way we always start. Who are you?
I'm Marc Belke. I played guitar for SNFU and a few other bands. Currently residing in Victoria, British Columbia, the place where everyone should be, really. And working for Canada Post. No.
I am that guy's twin brother. Brent Belke's my name. I played in SNFU with that guy for many years. We did a bunch of albums. And currently I'm living in East Van and doing some day-to-day, usually making music for film and TV.
Brent just won an award. He won an Leo Award for scoring some music for a movie.
Yeah,
Wow.
last on Sunday night, I won a Leo Award for best music in. Oh, here, wait.
Yeah, grab the trophy.
Oh, there we go.
That's a good trophy. That's a good size.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It's for this film called Can I Get a Witness? Which I think you can watch on streaming services. So there's the plug. Yeah.
There we go. We could get more into that a little bit later. And obviously, you're on the show because you're both dads. You know, Mark, you have one
Yep.
son, right? What?
Yep.
How old is he?
He's 12 years old.
12. Yeah. And Brent, how about you?
My son is 18. I just grabbed the laptop because he just finished his Zoom meeting. He's 18 and he's super busy. He's in UBC right now doing honors statistics.
Nice.
He's a math guy.
Love the math guy. I teach physics, so like I can relate to that. There we go.
Yeah.
But so you're both dads. Do you guys consider yourself a rad dad? Brent, do you consider yourself a rad dad?
I don't, I just kind of, yeah, I don't know if I'm on the rad dad spectrum. I guess I'm rad. I'm a dad, so sure. Yeah.
And you're here, of course. Yeah,
If there was a chapter in the city, I would, yeah, I'd be hanging out with those guys. Yeah.
for
With you
sure.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, open invite. Oh, invite's always there. Invite's always there.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't really hang out that much, but how about you, Mark?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if I'm a rad dad.
What are the
I mean,
rules? Is
what?
there rules? Is this like punk rock? Is there rules or not?
No rules.
No.
Wait,
I don't.
we purposely asked this question just because as a little bit of a way for you to think about that. Some people are uncomfortable. Some people say, I don't know, it's not up to me to make that definition, but I'm just
Yeah.
curious how you feel. You know, how
Well,
do you
that's what
feel
I
about it?
think. I think it's not up for me because it would be kind of a serious humble brag to be saying I'm a rad dad, and I find it really hard. I think it's the hardest thing I've ever done. You know, you think you got it all figured out, and then you just don't. You know, and then it's like a million questions pop up. So I don't know. But
What's
like,
what
it's something to strive for, right?
For sure, and that's kind of like the hope of the show, right? Is meant to try to inspire people to just kind of explore fatherhood and kind of ask those sorts of questions. And we've had a number like well, over 100 episodes now. We've had a lot of people kind of on the show, and I'll be honest, I did it initially to just meet some of my musical heroes as a way to have a conversation about something that's kind of different and it's kind of just taken off. And it's just kind of weird. Like we were at Punk and Drublic. We had a tent last August. They had one in Edmonton here. And I had guys come up to me like, "Oh, this podcast changed my life." I'm like, "Oh, okay." That made me feel really uncomfortable. But they were like honest and true. And they said, like just listening to the dads kind of give their stories. And so that's why we kind of continued to do that. So you talk about that manual. There is no manual, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about parenting, right? I guess there probably is books and manuals, but it's an improv, right? You really don't know what you're doing so often, and you're just got to go with it, right? And just put in the hard work, and yeah,
It is hard. I mean, I always had this idea before I had a son that it was like this spiritual thing because you'd always see fathers with their kids and be like, oh, it's so, and be like this spiritual thing, but it's not spiritual at all because you're always so in the moment, right? There's,
you're sleep deprived, and just yeah,
you only get those moments like, I think, like landmark years, I think when August graduates and things like that, or when I see him, you know, in those moments, those landmark moments, that's when it
well,
sort of hits you.
yeah. Well, it's because it's just go go go, and then yeah, there's these moments you have to pause and go, okay, I guess this is working out, and sit back and be happy with what you've done, hopefully, or whatever, reassess. But yeah, it's just like it's every day. You're just
Yeah,
going.
it's hard to even pause and see like
Yeah.
sit back and see it from a different perspective. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that like is there importance to like are you a reflective person? Are you reflective dads, or is it like you said, just kind of go and every once in a while?
I'm in the moment. I'm just going forward. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sort of in the moment too, as I alluded. I mean, for Christmas, I was given from my partner and my son this collection of pictures of August growing up, and I totally broke down. So that was one moment where I was like, okay, it's like marking the journey and looking back, and it's very powerful. But most of the time you're stuck right here, right? Dealing with what's going on.
But have you, do you, so, once you become a parent, I personally, it probably sounds like you too. It's like I sure cry a lot, like at sappy movies and stuff. I cry now way
Yeah.
more than I did. I don't know if it's that sleep deprivation I was talking about. I think it's just, I don't know, I guess your life's just deeper or something. But yeah, I cry way more than I
Oh, I
when
didn't know that.
I'm a parent. Yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
man. Punk rockers don't cry. Or they do when they become dads. Is that what you're saying?
Only when you become a dad. Yeah. Yeah. Those sappy movies, it's like, why am I crying? It's just a sappy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Pull it under heartstrings. What are some of those moments, Mark, that you've kind of noticed, those landmark type things?
Well, when I was gifted that collection of photos, that was one thing. Um, I don't know, like when I see him like at band concerts and things like that, you sort of feel it, you know. And again, I'm sure when he graduates in that moment, you're gonna be like, oh wow, it seems like he just started kindergarten, right? Like everyone says, don't blink because it flies by so quickly. Um, but always proud of what he did, and I'm sure there'll be more moments are coming up than have happened already.
Yeah. How about you, Brent? Is there some, well, you kind of mentioned, your son being in university. Like,
Yeah.
is that achievement to me? It's, it's not to be taken lightly. Me being an educator for 25 years,
Oh
like,
yeah. Well, he
like, is that a,
yeah, he really he's self-motivated, I guess. He went to high school, he got into the mini school and he said, I want to go to Van Tech Summit mini school, and he did the work to apply and get in, and then he's just done very well. So and yeah, it's great. He's really into school. I don't know if the Montessori thing worked for him. So he did Montessori as a in elementary school, and they taught him how to learn. And actually when he was in elementary school, his nickname was teacher because he'd walk around the classroom and help all the other kids with their work. Yeah. And now, yeah, he has a camp at the community center where he teaches coding and chess.
August just went.
Yeah, that's right.
My kid went over to Vancouver to attend at the camp that he was teaching.
oh, that's sweet. That's rad.
Yeah.
Oh, the important stuff, that's community building too, right? Just be kind of being part and being kind of a mentor, which
Yeah.
it's nice to see in kids. So be proud, take that. We don't
Well, that
see
was
that.
part of the reason why my partner did it to build and get them to bond a bit more and spend more time together.
Yeah, yeah. Because they don't, Victoria, Vancouver, it's close, but we don't see each other. We're not in the same space all that much. We talk like 3 times a week, us two, but we're
Yeah.
not actually in the same space all that often.
Yeah, I'm the same with my brother. I have a younger brother and younger sister. They're in Edmonton, and my brother has a couple of young kids too. So I have a 13-year-old and a 2-year-old, and yeah, as close as they are, they live on the north side or they live on the south side, and we still don't see each other. But try to send those
That's weird,
texts.
right?
Yeah,
Weird.
it's so weird. So like besides crying at sappy movies, how has fatherhood changed you? Has it changed you?
Me?
Yeah,
Oh,
let's go with you, Brendan.
sure. 100%. Yeah. Like I said, like suddenly it's a big responsibility. So it's definitely like you're whatever, like when from baby time, like you're not sleeping and you're up at dawn with this little bundle of joy, right? Like what am I doing here? I remember like every morning just sitting there looking out the front window, drinking my coffee and going, holy cow. So there, yeah, but as it marks, it's a lot of work, but the in general, most things, the more work and the more you put into it, the more rewarding it is. And it's definitely yeah, I've enjoyed it. I think it's made everything in my life deeper and more meaningful. So yeah. It's like
Nice.
every decision you make, you have to consider your family and your kid and what's going to happen 10 years down the line with whatever decisions you're making, even just little day-to-day ones. Yeah, everything's more important. That's good, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, keeps you on track. How about you, Mark? Did it change? Did it change you?
Um, I don't know if it's changed me. I mean, I do way less music now. I feel like I'm way less creative than I've been because I think I'm trying to focus on August, but I don't really think I constantly think I could be focusing more on parenting. So I guess I'm in kind of a weird world right now where I'm sort of caught in between feeling like I'm not doing enough and wanting to do other things and sort of wanting to cling on to my life I had before a bit.
You think that's kind of human nature? You can never feel that? Or is that always that bit of that guilt, or is that just maybe inherent in you as a person? That's who you are.
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't really know. I think it's more of a personality trait, I think, more than a human nature. But so I don't really think it's changed me that much. I think it's maybe magnified some personality traits of mine, negative and positive, more than it's changed me. So it's changed my lifestyle.
Ah, yeah, true.
You're not out late. Okay.
Oh yeah, I used to stay up till 2 in the morning. I used to love that time of the day, and now I'm like in bed at 10 and up at 6 every day.
Well, now my son's up till 2 in the morning, so I'm staying up later than.
Carrying the flag.
There we go. There we go. Any, what are some of the rewards of being dad? You kind of touched on some of them about those key moments, but is there anything else that kind of you think about the rewarding aspect? Yeah, sleep deprivation is not one, but
That's well, I think, you know, well, it keeps you young, I think, right? And you get to see the world through someone else's eyes, who is, someone, when they're little and stuff, like it's a whole new world. And you kind of take stuff for granted. And when you see these little kids are seeing things for the first time in their life or whatever, and the wonder and all that, you're like, wow, that's actually really amazing. And I kind of you do take it for granted, and yeah, all these everything. So you get to experience everything again for the first time, and yeah.
is one of those things music? How I guess involved in music, with both of you being, which, I would consider an iconic Canadian punk rock, heavily influential band. Is there any of that kind of trickles down musically with your kids, that influence there?
Um,
Or is that kind of a past life?
no, well, I I always try not to have an agenda for August. It's like you just throw stuff at him and register him for stuff and expose him to it all, and then he'll gravitate to what he's good at. He plays music. He's a percussionist with a school band, and he takes drum lessons every week. And he's a drummer, and he's almost got the punk rock beat down. I heard him play it a couple times, so that's pretty cool. And then so we just got to find time to jam a bit more. That'll be fun, I think. And so he plays music, but I want him, I have no agenda. I want him to discover the things that are really good for him and things that he finds passion in, and just help him, pursue those things. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Brent, how
So
about you? Same sort of thing?
well, my kid, he does not play music. He, like when he was young, he went to, Orff class, and they do songs and percussion and stuff like that. And then he was in a marimba band when he was maybe 10 to 12, like a little group of kids playing marimba songs. And that's his musical career right there. So he appreciates music. He has music playing all the time, and he's into everything as far as music goes. Like he's into opera and new music, and he loves the K-pop, and he's in yeah, and he's in like jazz. He's going through the whole canon of music in general, classical, jazz,
That's,
pop.
that's awesome.
Not a lot of punk rock for some reason. I don't know. Like Mark is like I just kind of let him do his own thing and find his own passion, right? So, and he's got a lot going on, so he's
Well,
found.
that's what I love about music is what you're talking about. It's that there's like this incredibly massive library of different types of music, and you can check it all out
Yeah, not
on your own.
when I was 15,
Or,
if you wanted to hear a specific piece of music, it was a lot of work, right? Now,
yeah,
yeah, you click two buttons and there you go. It's
yeah,
awesome.
like why is that popular? I'm gonna check it out. Or why is this considered so influential? I'm gonna check it out. And the way it is now, you can dig in so deep. I remember when I got into Bob Dylan, like not that long ago, like 20 years ago. There's like a massive catalog of stuff to get into, and movies and books and stuff. So once you get into it, you can go so deep so quickly. It's cool. It's exciting. Music exploration is to me is like one of the greatest things. One of my best favorite things to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
reading about history and figuring out, like trying to figure out the roots of punk rock and things like that. Like, where did it start? I love the Sex Pistols, but why is there a Sex Pistols? Because the New York
Yeah.
Dolls. Why is the New York Dolls? Because of the Velvet Underground, right? Like, I love that chain of events that brings us to where we are today is fascinating to me.
I love that too. I love that nostalgia, especially when it comes to like Edmonton and and you got your guys' kind of piece in that and some of those like early people. So like, like in my band, like you probably guys probably know Paul Soloter. He played guitar, Ace Pickens in Jerry Jerry. He literally lives right across the alley from me. And how I
No.
and how I got Dad Religion started was through Rad Dads. Like we host events for kids, and my idea was like, oh, let's do like a punk show for toddlers. Let's make it really accessible, get some bands. And I want to do a like I love Bad Religion too. And so Paul would be walking. I knew who he was. He would be walking, and he walks his dog all the time. And there was one day I was just always so nervous to talk to him. I'm like, Paul, go. I saw him in the alley. I'm like, "Are you Paul so and so?" And I was like, "Can you wait? And I'm gonna go get some my records. Can you sign them?" And then before I know it, he's inviting me to a show that he was playing. They had a cover band called Spartans, where it was Jerry on vocals and Dave Bacon and bass. And so they would do. They called themselves the Spartans, but they would only do songs no later than 84, I think, is when Spartans closed. So they would do these early punk. Anyways, so I just asked him to be in my band, and now we hang out like regularly. He comes over, strums guitar in my backyard, and
Oh,
I get to hear those stories of that early kind of scene that you know
Diefenbakers. The
Oh, man.
Diefenbakers.
yeah, he's so his band. So on August 23rd, we're doing like that comic and 7-inch release show, and his other band called The Strand. They're gonna do two Diefenbaker songs. I'm stoked.
Oh, that's cool.
I
Well,
love
some of
that.
like my earliest memory, like very first memories of punk rock in Edmonton, where he was right there for sure. Like seeing the Diefenbakers and just meeting people, he was always there, always around. And
Yeah.
he
Yeah,
didn't was never looked like the punk rock guy at all. Not very punk rock, but obviously was a fan of the music and was always there. And then when he moved to Montreal, we'd go to do our shows and he'd be at the show and he was always around.
he's a super cool guy.
He's
He
one of
has
the good
this
ones for sure. He's awesome.
And he has this crazy memory too of just like all of these like details from back in the day. It's just amazing. Anyways, I have nothing but good things to say about him and all his experience that he shared. Oh yeah, Gigi Allen. Yeah, I saw him in Montreal this time. What?
Yeah.
Wild to me. Oh yeah, let's ask this one last dad question here. Did you guys have any fears about being a dad?
Oh, 100% for sure. I think I waited about as long as I could to do it. I think I was about 40 when, yeah, I was just, always thought, okay, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And then it's like, well, just got to pull the goalie and go for it at some
Because
point.
you're never ready, right? That's the
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
that's what my mom said, because you're never going to be ready. So, yeah. So, like I said, waited.
How about you, Mark? Do you have any fears or?
I remember leaving the hospital with him and just like, what the fuck?
I
Because
was
we
the
had to
same
like,
way.
because we were there for like quite a while after the birth. And so you're sort of in this cocoon, and then it's like, you can go. And then we're like, what?
Yeah.
You got like this human. It's, and, but I don't know. I probably have fears right now too, like handling how he's handling the internet, things like that, that we all are learning that are really bad for teenagers and trying to keep them off that, which is really hard because it's so desirable, right? And video games, which are so amazing now. When we grew up, video games, there were video games when we grew up, but you get bored of them because they weren't that great. They were good, but you'd be like, okay, let's go inside now. But now video games are amazing, right? They have so much depth. And so things like that, trying to steer him right and do what's best for him. I think I probably have more fear now than I did when he was younger of doing the wrong thing, right? So we're constantly trying
Well,
to
I guess it's a different kind of fear. First, when you got, like, when you're talking about bringing the baby home, it's like, what the hell? Like, what do you do, right? It's this kind of, and
yeah,
how do
screw
you,
this up somehow. Something's gonna happen. Something's gonna
yeah. Like it's a full on like low grade, like you just got to make sure that the baby doesn't fall down the stairs, and then yeah, but when the kid gets older, it's a more intense. It's like you're not on the ball like every second, but it's like, yeah, as you said, you can make some pretty bad wrong decisions that could affect your life when you're in your younger, like 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, yeah. Some major things could happen, right?
And also being very conscious of how we were raised with our dad. And we had a really low level of communication in our family. We never talked about anything. And it's hard for me to break that cycle, even though I'm so conscious of it. It's like, I want to communicate, I want to talk, I want to communicate and talk. But I feel like it's so ingrained in me because we grew up like that. It's hard. I don't talk about it. But even though I'm thinking about it, should communicate it, I don't really do it that much. It's weird. Hard for me.
I'm exactly the same as you. I think about that all the time. And, my job is kind of communication, especially the last year I was assistant principal at a junior high school. So you talk about some of those things that those individuals, the choices that they make at that point in their life. Yeah, it's crazy where, kids are up till 4 in the morning playing video games and, their parents not even know it and wonder why they're falling asleep in class or all the other things that come with, the bullying on the internet and stuff. It was
It's
definitely a
a
bit,
real
bit
crucial
eye-opening.
time of their lives, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so with my son being going into grade 9, it was also an opportunity for me to be really grateful for who my son has become in terms of, he's just a really good kid. And, and, yeah, he would never tell, for example, never tell a teacher to go F themselves. And, that's what I had to deal with. So it's like, oh, okay. Like, but anyways, those are kind of deeper things for sure. But, yeah, yeah, I had the same fears going home. I remember I begged my brother to come with me. Like, can you please meet us? Like, I have no idea what I'm really doing. I just wanted people around me to make sure I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to have someone to call and go, what the hell do I do? Right. You got to
Yeah.
have that person, right?
But
Like,
it's
oh,
funny. But it's funny how it's just quickly. You kind of just let those go. I think I don't know. That was been my experience. Over a week. I had the baby home for a couple weeks, and it's like, oh, okay. So it's like you just kind of do it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Is
day to day.
All right, let's move into some of the SNFU stuff. The idea maybe is to kind of maybe highlight some of the stuff on and no one else wanted to play just because of the comic and the 7 inch and the stuff and the fact that it's turning 40 and all that. How is the memory from that time, 40 years ago? When you hear that, what is that? What what feelings does that conjure up?
About the album itself?
Yeah, just in terms of the fact that it's 40 years ago that you created or had this debut album, is that something that you reflective on or something that you?
Well, it seems like a lifetime ago. Like, we're definitely not the same people we were when we did that record. And the key thing about that record is I keep thinking about, when I think about it as a whole, is how we knew nothing about recording really when we went in to do that project. We knew very little. So it was really just being told what to do and just sort of doing it, right? We didn't know anything. We knew our songs, and that was about it.
Well, and that first album was so being with BYO was amazing because they were in the studio with us every second of the way and they recorded album. They'd been there before, so it was actually really great being on BYO and having them show us and shepherd us and all that, right? It was such a good experience. Yeah.
And so not knowing anything, Mark, like is there anything that you would have done differently in terms of like re-recording, remix, reflecting on that?
Well, we were talking about this last week, and I'm always into the idea of remixing stuff. We were talking about possibly we're getting Rave to do 4 songs just for the heck of it, but you also realize that people, the way they hear that record, whether I like it or not, is that weird mix or whatever is what they identify as part of the complete sound of that album. And it's almost disrespectful to the people that love that record to reimagine it for them, in a way. I'm not saying we wouldn't do it, but you just have to sort of frame it in a way where it's like we were going to frame it because we were saying, oh, it's like 40 years since we did it, and just for fun, we're going to remix some of these songs because we know some of the sounds could be better and the mix could be better, right?
Yeah.
But I guess you have to be. I truly think you have to be careful and honor the people that like that record the way it is. whether you like it or not.
Well, because the Trust Records is re-releasing the first album.
Yeah.
And when we first talked to him, that was the thing. We're like, "Oh, should we remix some songs?" They're like, "No, no, we cannot remix songs." And they said because it is what it is, and you got to honor what it. They're saying this is an iconic album, so you got to release it the way people have heard it and loved it, right? They remastered it, but they don't want to remix it. They want to keep it the.
Joe at Trust said every artist said the same thing. Can we remix it? Can we remix it?
And they always say no because we're releasing this iconic album and we want to preserve.
If they want to be like an archivist, right? They want to, this is
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, archive, good word. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm stoked for that. I've been kind of in touch with Joe and Sam, I think it is his name. We've kind of talked a little bit about that and trying to maybe. So I've kind of sent them some stuff too, and so it's just kind of cool to see that that's kind of happening. And I don't know if you've seen any of the other re-release stuff that they've done with the early BYO catalog, but they've done a really, really nice job in terms of that package, and then paying tribute and being honoring that, like you said. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that for sure. But I'd also look forward to anything remix that you would maybe put out as well. So as a fan, I'm okay with that. It's like the Star Wars movies, right? They've been kind of turned, and George Lucas has done all these sorts of things, and some people like the original, but it's still there's fans that appreciate something new.
Yeah, if like for like the Star Wars thing, he had a vision and he was limited for whatever reason. So it's like, okay, now I can do what I was really intending to do, right? So if he
We
gets
could
to,
say the same thing.
There we go. Yeah, the George Lucas of punk.
we're
There
gonna
we go.
remix the first album, it'll be just as good as Star Wars.
Maybe get AI chai to say. What do you think resonates with fans about this record? 4 decades later, and people are, like again, Trust is putting this out, and do you have any?
Well, I don't. I guess I know. I'm just gonna assume that for a lot of people, you listen to like any record. I listen to music, and it just takes me back to a time and place, right? So if you were going to punk rock shows 40, is that right? 40? Yeah, 40 years ago. If you're going to punk rock shows and you hear this album that you loved, it's like it takes you right back. And it was your coming of age and all that, and all those those summers going to punk rock shows. For yeah, I listen to old punk rock records and it takes me back to like, oh, summer of '85. That was awesome. Yeah. So I still listen to old punk rock and it takes me back. So I'm sure it's the same thing for people that like the first SNFU album.
Yeah, I think it's probably the nostalgia factor. And what
Yeah.
Brent said reminds you of your life as a young adult.
Like you put on that Bad Brains album, I still kind of go back to that time. First time I heard the Bad Brains, it's like, oh my God, this changes everything. Oh shit, wow. Yeah, yeah. It takes me back.
That's one of my favorite shows all time. Singing the Bad Brains at the Bronx. It was mind changing for sure.
Yeah.
What do you most remember vividly about that recording process environment at the time of that album? Like, the story's kind of been told. I think you guys kind of drove down and recorded it. Did some shows while you were recording it, sort of thing.
It's crazy. Like I think now, like so what Mark, we were 19 when we recorded that album. So like we're 18, 19 writing those songs. And I see like, my son and like in my nieces and nephews, was I that young when I was 19? I wasn't that young. It's like we were 20 years old driving all over North America in a van. No phones there, right? Back then.
Yeah.
No way to talk to anyone. We had just had an atlas and we would just every now and then call the promoter and we kind of got around and did it. But I was like, wow. And I look back.
Mom told us we were too young to be driving around the country.
She was right, I think.
Anyway.
It was I'm so glad I did it though. That was the best thing. That's the best thing I could. That's what I really, really, really wanted to do. I was like, I'm so lucky I got to do it when I was 20 years old, driving around North America, playing punk rock shows. Yeah, living the dream, right?
Yeah.
What what were your parents? What were your parents like? Were they like you said your mom, but what was your dad? Just like or don't go, or here's $100, be safe, kind of thing. Or?
My dad didn't say anything. ever, hardly.
I guess there was, if they couldn't, in general, the stuff, if they couldn't talk us out of it, they would be supportive. But like even getting in to playing like full time as a musician, my mom was always like, because her dad played in a band when she was a kid. She's like, it's a lot of work, and you don't, you're not having everyone. You're playing a show when everyone's having fun, and you're working. She'd always say stuff like that and try to. She loved music, but like once, like I said, when she couldn't talk us out of it, she was like, okay, maybe you should take some lessons or something. Yeah. But really, like we got a guitar like 4 years later, or going to LA to record an album. That's insane.
So then the recording, and then let's go to when it was released. What was the reception like when it came out? Were you just stoked that here you are, 18, 19-year-olds, you got a record on BYO, we're from Edmonton, or was it really a
Well, I think it was pretty exciting. I think it was pretty exciting for everybody because I think we were aware that we were sort of representing whatever scene we had in Edmonton. And even when we started it, I had this kind of thing in my head. I was like, oh, I want to put Edmonton on the map because you'd pick up Maximum Rock and Roll and they had the scene reports for all the different cities. And it'd be like, oh, that looks so cool. And it's like, I want Edmonton to be on there, to have the Edmonton scene report and see a cool picture of Chai jumping off a drum kit and sort of build on that. And so it was more just like a goal to get. For us, it was always like one step ahead. Let's just keep, like, we played Edmonton, let's play Calgary now. Let's play Winnipeg. Okay, we should try to get an album out. And we had support from people like Gubby Svoboda, who was there to help us, get that record deal, or sort of, I don't know if he facilitated it, but he sort of hopped in and managed us. And we were like, okay, you can be our manager. Got some help from people. And when the album came out, it was like a bit of a victory, I think, for the scene in Edmonton in general, to have a band from our scene get an album out. And so it's sort of, I think it was a big moment for Edmonton, for everybody.
Yeah, and we were touring all around North America. No other bands were doing that. And in our scene, DOA was doing it. So but we were out doing it.
Is that were you kind of in talks with DOA? Like, did you look up to those guys in terms of, or I guess more get advice for them, or was it just kind of that DIY kind of punk ethic? Like you said, Mark, I have this goal. We want to do Edmonton, and we're just going to kind of do it and see what comes up. Or were there intentional things kind of along the way to make that happen?
Well, I don't ever recall talking to anybody about it because I think we were just doing music. But I'm sure Gubby had talked to Laurie Mercer and was picking his brain on how to go on tour and where to go and things like that.
Well,
So we got a lot of help.
the whole tour was booked by Mark from BYO.
Right.
So as far as getting the shows and all that, BYO, they booked the whole tour, right? Because
Which was a network that was established by DOA and other bands, right? You just call it, you'd get, where did you play when you're in Phoenix? And you'd ask, they'd find out. And so you get your list, build your list of cities and numbers that way. So there was a trail blazed by bands before us for sure. I don't ever remember like being that particularly involved in that kind of thing. Like personally, we were just doing the music and playing the shows, which we loved playing shows, loved going on tour. That's why I did it for so long. Loved it.
What was it about it that you loved so much?
Well, I think part of it was just shunning the whole responsibility of a normal daily life of paying bills and going to work every day. That was probably part of it. But the adventure of it, like going into a city you've never been to before and playing to people you don't even know anybody, like in the crowd. And usually, because we were a decent band, you feel like you own the place, right? And you have people like, that was awesome. All these people you didn't know. And it's like your friends now. It's cool. It's like the coolest thing. So going to these alien places you've never been, and then you feel like you own the place. It's weird, all in one night. Usually, I mean, some nights you're like, why the fuck am I here? When there's 10 people. But yeah, there's nothing like it. It's a unique experience.
And back then it was like, yeah, you go on tour. It's like every night you get to go to a punk rock show. That was awesome, right? Because in Edmonton, you have to wait to every week or two. It's like, yeah, but you're on tour every night. You get to go to a show and see some punk rock bands or whatever, and the whole whatever the scene is in the other city. Yeah, but it was always fun. It was an adventure. Yeah,
and we loved it. So it was what we loved to do.
Yeah.
And then how did you feel like that SNFU sound kind of set you apart from people? Are you guys different? Was it, the fact, obviously, Ken was definitely an enigmatic, front man, and but it was just more than just Ken, right? And or Chai, and so what was it? Is
As
there
far
a
as a
magic
different sound,
formula?
I think SNFU had sort of a slightly different thing, and I think that's all up. Mark had it's all up. That was Mark's doing. Mark was more so way more than me. Was like into metal. Like he'd listen to Iron Maiden and the Scorpions and stuff, and I was always like, yeah. And he would incorporate elements of it into that, and like the riffy guitar stuff. That was all Mark's doing. He had this. Even like when I remember one time he like playing guitar, and at a certain point he had this thing in his head, I think that he was like, and that's what it is. That's the SNFU sound.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
I think it's mostly chai, really. I think chai is like the big thing that makes us different than everybody else. That made us different and exciting. Because chai would always give you the unexpected, especially you've never seen him before. You'd never seen anything like him, right?
yeah.
So, and that's what I think I don't know how conscious we were of it, but we didn't want to be like everybody else. We wanted to do our own thing. So
Well, I don't think it was a conscious thing. Chai just did his thing, and he just didn't give a fuck what anyone thought, right? And I don't think
oh
he was
yeah,
trying to emulate anyone. He just did his thing, and yeah, and that's why there's really nobody like him, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Definitely a front man that didn't care, right? But also, when I say didn't care about other people, but really cared about other people, and the fact that if you look at some of the lyrics and some of the songs that you guys done, talk about, the songs that we're practicing, like Womanizer, for example, which if you look at that song, like it's timeless if you look at the lyrics, in my opinion, talking about, that sort of thing. And then here you have someone who's, a gay Asian man. And if we talk about stereotypes and talk about, racism that we tend to see today, here we have someone that was kind of at the forefront of that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
Was that something you're kind of conscious about too? Like you guys were never really a really political band per se. So, if you compare something like, someone like Propaganda as an example of another Canadian punk
No.
institution, but you still have those elements in there. And was that something that you were conscious about? Like, I guess what I'm trying to get at in terms of if I look at the album, and no one else wanted to play it, there was not a lot of political stuff. There's like a lot of kind of some horror themes, kind of funny kind of stuff. Chai is always kind of funny, had these kind of witty about him, but there's always this underlying kind of piece. Was it a conscious effort as a band to say, hey, we won't want to get too political? I guess that's my question, long way around it.
We were never political, and I know that Chai would always say that too. Chai would always make a very strong point of saying trying not to be political, but he definitely had sort of a social commentary on some things. He wrote so many songs that there was always all these different topics, right? He had books and books and books of lyrics. And so I think I can't really speak for him, but he was always just trying to like, oh, that'd be an interesting song, or this is a different kind of song, and he writes stuff about being on the bus or like Alzheimer's disease. Who's writing songs about Alzheimer's disease like 30 years ago?
Well, I
Right.
remember, yeah, at that time he came in with a song. He was at the dentist or the doctor, and he was in the waiting room, and there was a magazine, and he read this article about Alzheimer's disease, and he wrote that song. And I remember at that time going, "What's Alzheimer's disease?" I didn't even know what it was, right? And now everyone knows what it is, right?
Oh,
But
it's brilliant too. I forget. Now I even forget to forget. It's like,
yeah,
oh, that's pretty awesome. And I didn't really realize it until the band covered it on Mikey and his uke thing. And I was like, oh man, that is a song. That's killer.
There's so many killer songs. So again, here this album's turning 40. Trust is doing their thing. And we have the comic kind of as a way as a homage to that, to you guys. How do you kind of see your legacy? Like, do you think about that? Is that something that you think about, or are you reminded when these sorts of projects kind of pop up?
I
Uh,
don't think about it. Yeah,
what?
like you said, I'm reminded when these things pop up. Like I don't, like when I played guitar in a couple of songs. I hadn't listened to those songs in 20 years. I was like, oh, that's a pretty good song. Wow, cool, right? So I really don't think about it at all. But it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's pretty amazing that it's been 40 years and these songs, like we said, like we wrote these songs when we were 18 years old and they're still being played. And I guess they're relevant. I can't believe it. I'm actually shocked that this is still an ongoing concern. I'm grateful. It's like, wow, we're so lucky. Like you don't think about it, like what when you're in the moment, like, wow, this is such a cool thing and such a unique thing, right? You're just in it, right? You're just doing it. You're just in the van driving around doing your thing. And now you look back at it and you go, wow, that was actually really cool.
Does that resonate with you, Mark, too?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's done. It is what it is, right? And yeah, it resonates with me because I think it's a cool thing that we made some kind of impact for all the time that we put into it. So it's great. Great.
In 2022, you guys won the Family Polaris Heritage Prize, honoring that album and the band. How did that make you feel? Same sort of thing? It was just one of those things that, okay, here someone's reminding us of this. We got an award to put up with your award. You got your award
I loved it.
shelf.
I get I sort of think that some people at Polaris didn't really like it that much for some reason, honestly.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of really, really cool. I don't know how cool we are, but there's a lot of interesting, cool music that never gets any airtime or anything like that was nominated as well. That probably, definitely deserved. What was the other group that got honored? Like this gospel group or something?
Yeah, I didn't write it down, but I was doing a bit of
Like
research
really
last week.
cool stuff, right? That should get a nod, but
When the nominations came out, I went, we don't have a chance. This is crazy. Look at these albums, right? And then
but I think we got a lot of help from people. Like our fans definitely chipped in and voted like crazy. I had people I worked with who were voting who just like me, I think, as much as the band. So they were on there hopping and voting all the time.
well, it's those punk rock fans. They were active, right? Because there was a online voting thing. So, and the punk rockers, they're go-getters, you know? So they
Yep.
did right? More so than the Katie Lang fans, I guess. And the
She was in the early punk scene in Edmonton, though, right?
Oh yeah, she was around.
yeah.
Listen to the Diefenbakers. Why do you say that, Mark, about them not, you don't think that they liked it all that much? Is it just kind of a cold reception there, or?
I don't know. I don't know what that's based on. Maybe it's just a hunch. Because
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know exactly why. Just, well, you get the correspondence and stuff and the way it played out, and there it seemed like, oh yeah, you guys won. They didn't seem super stoked that we won, and I thought it was, and it didn't seem to be like a big deal. Like when we won it, they said, oh, be ready on standby because QCBC is probably going to call you and have a quick interview, and nothing happened really. There was no big fanfare after. It seemed like kind of just, yeah, we won, whatever. They were like, okay.
it's definitely an honor, but
I love it. I think it's amazing.
I know that the people that were debating the honor, from what I heard, everyone was debating it for their artist that they wanted to win, and basically someone came in and said, "Oh, it's over. The online vote is a
So
landslide.
landslide at that point. Yeah, like a week before.
Nothing to talk about."
Yeah. Nice. That's cool. Well, good for you. Like, I think No Means No won it a couple years before too. Like, so that's
No Means
that's
No,
definitely an honor.
and DOA won it, I think,
Okay.
just before us. But it's funny because I'll be on listening to CBC radio and they'll say Polaris Prize winner, and I go, "What? I got one of those." It's like, really? What? It's just it's baffling, right? It's like, wow, we won a Polaris Prize. It's like, oh, it's unbelievable. I think it's still kind of unbelievable that it actually happened.
It's worthy though. I mean, Canada has like a great tradition of some of the greatest punk rock bands in the world. So
Yeah, for
in the
sure.
world.
Why do you think that is? Is it some of my friends and I talk about this sometimes about like the isolation that I don't know if that's your answer, but I think of like Propagandy, who's one of my favorite bands, and you just kind of they talk about them being removed from the California punk scene, and in the dead cold of winter, Winnipeg and maybe even Edmonton too. Not much else to do. You play hockey or maybe play with some band with your friends. Is that a tribute to that, or is it something else?
I think there's an element of that for sure in the how it's done, because a lot of the bands have, like, especially a band like No Means No, like nobody sounds like No Means No before they were came about, right? And yeah, probably something to that. I don't really know.
Well, the Vancouver scene, in whatever, when it started, 78 or 79, like, DOA and the Modernettes, and like the Vancouver scene was a really vibrant, creative scene.
Eclectic too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think, and then those bands made their way to Edmonton and Calgary, so they influenced us into some for sure. But yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with that Vancouver scene being such a creative, great scene. One of the like it back in 1980, LA and San Francisco and New York, but Vancouver is probably like the number 5 scene in North America at that time because it was just a very active, a lot of people playing shows and doing stuff, right? Yeah.
A couple
And it also
questions.
comes, and I think it does come from that isolation too. Like the whole grunge thing that happened in Seattle, that's because they had their own little world going on, and they were started doing a different thing, and they had their whole scene, and they had a bit of a sound developed, uh, and like yeah, I think definitely the cold winters and sitting in your parents' basement playing guitar for a long time and working on stuff that helps for sure. The winters.
The thing with the grunge scene that kind of, and maybe even the California scene, those bands tend to sound the same. You guys never ever sounded the same of any of the bands that were in and around Edmonton. If you look at that history of that time, so what was it? Do you think was it just the creativity of Ken and Mark and you guys?
I don't really know.
Hard question to
I know
answer.
that we weren't really introspect. We didn't dissect our music that much, and there was never really an agenda. We just sort of we would write the songs. Like we would never, if someone ever brought like a tape of the show we played the night before into the band, no one would ever want to listen to it. Be like, no, we'd never work on it. We'd never really work on it and dissect our own music. We just did it.
Well, yeah, we just kept wanting to write new material. I remember when the first album came out and the record release party, I was like, whatever. We got a whole bunch of we got new, better songs than those. So like, yeah, yeah. I remember Evan going, "What?" It's like, yeah, whatever. It's like, okay, we got another album. We got another album in us, and it's gonna be better than the next one, right? So, and yeah, Mark, we just bring in songs and we would jam on them for a while, and then Ken would put lyrics on top of it, and there wasn't a lot of thought, like, oh, let's write a song like this or let's write a song like that. We just
Yeah, it was very organic.
Was that true with the first album? We'll kind of tied in with the comic, doing the comic. Adrian had this idea a couple of years ago and kind of approached me. I'm like, oh, that'd be great. And then it just didn't really happen. He was doing his own thing and then I was doing other stuff. And then finally we kind of met and then I applied for that grant, the Edmonton Arts Council grant, and what allowed us really to pay Dylan to do the work to kind of implement some of these ideas. And so our idea was to do a horror-based comic, kind of a homage to Tales from the Crypt, where we have, basically each story is Ken as the crypt keeper, kind of introducing the story. And we had a hard time because we wanted to do 4 songs. Just for the pagination piece, the 28 pages. So we had like, okay, we're going to do 7 pages for each story. And it just happened to be the number 7. And we, like, it just kind of all worked. It was just kind of falling into place. And it's like horror. And we had a hard time picking stories to do because there's so much horror theme in there. Is that something that's kind of conscious? And that might be obviously maybe a question more for Ken, but
Yeah, that's sort of Chai's thing. I know he was more of a horror fan than we were. I mean the iconic SNFU graphic with the monster head, it was just taken because it's such a striking image, really.
right.
And we were just trying to find stuff to make a shirt or make a sticker or something like that. When we found that, it just, even if you're not a fan of horror, it sort of speaks to you. But it's obviously got a bit of a horror theme to it.
yeah, like me and Mark would just go through our older brother's comic books, just looking for cool pictures. Right? How about this? How about this? And we would just flip through, and Mark was like, "Look at that!" It's like, "There we go. Yeah, that's a good one." Right?
That's sweet. Yeah, I've been trying to find that original image for that's kind of Bernie Wrightstein's Wrightstein stunts.
You're right. Yeah.
That particular image. Is there a favorite song for you guys from that album? Or do you think
I
of it
guess
that
not.
way?
I guess.
Everyone's a jam. They're all perfect.
It's like children.
Yeah,
Uh,
every kid is perfect.
no, but I haven't listened to it for a while. I got to listen to it because we were talking about that when we were talking about remixing. Was like, oh, we should really sit down and listen to it and sort of, I don't know, not really. I mean, something that should be said is that I think when we did that first record, is that Evan was probably the most musical guy in the band. He wrote like 3 or 4 songs, I think, for sure.
He was the youngest guy and he had the most experience as
Yeah, he was the most musical guy for sure
and
at
he
that
played in
time.
bands since he was, I don't know, 14 or something like that.
So
Yeah.
that should be mentioned.
What songs did he write? Do you know?
Money Matters. Maybe he didn't write that many. I know Money Matters because it's like that weird riffy.
Oh yeah, he wrote Money Matters. What else did he? I'm looking going through it, and I think you wrote most of them. Mark, you wrote all the good ones.
Oh,
But he wrote Money Matters. Like that riff, like he took my guitar and he goes, do this, do this. Like he had the whole thing.
yeah.
It was that written note for note.
And I guess maybe in terms of instrument, like he knew he could play drums more than he's a better drummer than I was a guitar player.
Well, and as far as arranging the songs, like come in with a riff or whatever, and he had the mind to like arrange it and let's put a fill here. We'll like extend this part or whatever. Yeah, he was just so good at that.
That's
Yeah.
sweet. My friend, he owned the last kind of incarnation of Sound Connection in Edmonton, and he played in ton of bands. He played in Zero Tolerance. I don't know if you remember that band. It's the band that opened up for Nirvana at the famous Bronx show. And so,
I've
anyways,
seen that one.
he actually has Evan's guitar. His SG.
Oh,
Bought it off of him like years and years and years ago. We were kind of talking about it the other day. We were at his house and he's like, no, it's like this is Evan's guitar. I was like, what? That's crazy.
cool.
But yeah, you talk about like those musical people that have a talent. So that's cool. I didn't really know that. I knew he was kind of musical. Like Paul's kind of mentioned it too. And before Evan passed away, there was a few times we went out for lunch and he kind of told me his story, but definitely kind of cool. So like in terms of like listening to that album again, have your kids listened to it?
Well, he's heard songs off it. Like we listened to Painful Reminder yesterday, which is a much later song, but I think he's heard them. He's pretty cool about the whole thing. He's not really, I wouldn't say he's a fan.
I don't know. I don't think I know it's kind of weird. Yeah, he'll mention SNFU sometimes. Like, oh yeah, and it's like, you know, yeah.
It's fine.
There we go. Okay, let's end it here in terms of your time and stuff. Just really appreciate your time and all the support that you kind of given the project and especially this thing. Like I said, I'll send you some swag. Once the comics printed, I'll get you some copies
Oh
sent, and
yeah,
I'll just kind of
I
do it
totally.
all at once. And
I want to see
um,
that comic. I'm looking forward to seeing how that comes turned out. I'm sure it's gonna be amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Dale. I was talking to Mark earlier before you came. Like Dylan did, just it looks stellar. It looks so good, and we're really excited that yeah, we've got some CBC kind of coverage, some Ched coverage, and we're excited about it. Just to as a way to honor you guys. I just appreciate music, appreciate all of that, and it's definitely an honor to chat with both of you. Last question, then. Any words of advice, any dads out there from the Belke brothers,
Uh,
What do you got, Rad Dad?
I don't know what I have. Advice.
or words of wisdom?
Give them space to grow and support them through what they really want to do and what's their passion and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you just want to be there for them. You don't know when you're going to be needed, and that's the biggest thing. There's going to be a time, I think, when he's going to need my help, and I just want to be there for him.
Yeah. Well, I'm at the point now, my kid's 18. It's like, oh, you want to ride? I'm just happy I can give him a ride and hang out with him, right? Because he's got stuff. Yeah, I'll give you a ride. Yeah. And before it's like you're chauffeuring your kid around. It's like someone's like, oh, I can't get anything done today. I've been driving my kid around everywhere, right? But now it's like I cherish those times I can hang out in the car with him, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Cherish the moments and encourage them to do them. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for all you do.
Yeah.
Hey,
Keep up the good work.